Hello everyone and welcome back to the Blackford Book Club and another volume of my essential film reviews collection, where I bring you from 2006 the film Children of Men, directed by Alfonso Cuaron. But first, a proviso. This is a long chapter, so I'm going to forgive myself some silly stumbles and bumbles along the way. But equally, nobody watches these videos anyway. It's just you and me and you. So kick off your shoes, relax, stretch out, have an extra glass of wine, go on, treat yourself. There's also a Radiohead song in the middle of this particular chapter, so get ready for that one. Every time one of our politicians are in trouble, a bomb explodes. Children of Men was my first in-depth exposure to the films of Alfonso Cuaron and became a firm favourite of mine immediately on release in 2006. As I write this 10 years later, the film's overriding themes of alienation in a post-apocalyptic world, of failing social, structural norms, oppressively high tensions surrounding immigration and nationhood still resonate deeply, while shining a light on some of today's eerily similar worldwide issues. Set in the year 2027, the film is anything but futuristic, with a dirty grey colour palette dominating, and with society failing in all directions, there are no discernible signatures of a futuristic world to come, of flying cars, enhanced transportation, logistics or media. In its place is a disintegrating world at war with itself, a disillusioned populace and its immigrant inhabitants enclosed in horrific holding pens and internment camps, with only the UK and London seemingly free of the riots spreading throughout the globe. The film is ostensibly rooted in London, which as a rolling train billboard proclaims only Britain soldiers on. And on the surface at least, this appears to be the case. London is still working and sporting life, recreation and life at large still in evidence, but lurking around every corner are terrorist threats, government oppression and horrifying immigrant exclusion zones that resemble war-torn ghettos. The world as a whole is dying, with liberty, freedom and progression seemingly on permanent hold after 18 years of zero recorded new births that has spawned a societal depression across great swathes of the entire planet. Following the death of baby Diego, the world's previous youngest member, his torch has been passed to the next youngest person alive, and she now carries the weight of the world's expectation and every possible hope on her shoulders. However, unbeknownst to the world at large, and more crucially the authorities, a young girl loosely associated with the anti-government Fishes organisation is against all possible odds pregnant and needing safe passage to the human project. Enter our accident-prone and reluctantly accidental hero, Theo Farron, Clive Owen. Clive Owen is the film's headline star and excellent in his role of the clumsy and accidental hero Theo. Deeply depressed at the world that now surrounds him, Theo has tuned out from the madness that surrounds his daily life and has a ghost-like, dead-to-the-world persona that is the polar opposite of his life just 20 years ago, when he worked passionately as an activist with Julianne Moore, and Jasper, Michael Caine. Suffice to say, both Moore and Caine carry their respective roles well, and together with Clive Owen's Theo character drive the main narrative of the film. All three characters are past, present or lifelong friends, and all have an irreverent stance on life that has been shaped by their respective experiences, but all three equally have a past that, whilst clearly on display for the audience, is rarely discussed and left to develop along with the narrative. Julian is the leader of the Fishes organisation, an anti-government or terrorist organisation, depending on how you view the 2027 news. And Jasper is Theo's release valve, a much needed perspective on the world. Here Kane excels in quite an unfamiliar role for him as an ageing hippie utterly devoted to his incapacitated wife, music, and his vast quantities of strawberry cough cannabis plants. Although dead and oblivious to the world around him, Theo finds solace and comes alive only in the company of his lifelong friends. However, this is a rare event in his life, as seemingly everything happens either behind or just out of Theo's visual range. In one of the film's major continuing themes, he may be front and centre and very much the reluctant hero, but everything happens around or behind him, be it the film's signature explosion in the opening minutes, through to the youths pelting the train he travels on, the caged immigrants at the train station, or the graffiti billboards that seemingly track his every move. All of this happens behind Theo, and it's a clever narrative strand that continues throughout. In addition to these main characters, Pam Ferris is excellent as midwife Miriam to the miracle mother-in-waiting Key, portrayed so well by Claire Hope Asherty, and Chital Ejiofor stands out as determined Fish's heir-apparent leader Luke, some 7 years before he would astound the world in Steve McQueen's 12 Years a Slave. 3 further roles are worthy of note and key participants in this intriguing apocalyptic story, with Danny Huston excelling in a frighteningly on-edge portrayal of Theo's cousin Nigel. Similarly, the excellent Peter Mullin portrays duplicitous immigrant officer Sid brilliantly. But last but by no means least is Owala Pelea's excellent portrayal of immigrant Maricha. One of the film's endearing traits is John Taverner's music soundtrack and the inclusion of numerous standout individual song tracks from across the ages. A film can often stand or fall on its musical accompaniment, and where Children of Men excels is Taverner's music choices, as well as the haunting and mournful score that highlights Theo's state of mind that rises and falls alongside his inner turmoil and swinging moods. The inclusion of songs from Deep Purple, The Beatles, John Lennon, The Liberties and Donovan are inspired choices, but it's the addition of the Rolling Stones' Ruby Tuesday, King Crimson's The Court of the Crimson King, and Radiohead's Life in a Glass House that impresses the most. Ruby Tuesday is employed twice, with the second rendition truly heartbreaking, but spoilers will not allow for further explanation. The brilliant Court of the Crimson King sums up the film in a cliché nutshell perfectly, with Theo enjoying his chauffeur-driven ride through the busy streets of London in the midst of a city still working, still functioning, and still full of pomp and circumstance, despite the terrorist threats and immigrants housed in appalling conditions mere streets away, before arriving at his cousin's outlandish and art-filled retreat within the refurbished Battersea Power Station, resplendent with Pink Floyd-era flying pigs. As a lifelong myopic Radiohead fan, the inclusion of Life in a Glass House is a particularly inspired and wonderful choice for innumerable reasons. The lyrics themselves of "Don't talk politics" and "Don't throw stones," and of wanting to sit around and chat and to stay and chew the fat, despite someone listening in, are particularly apt, as is the song's opening lines of "Once again, I'm in trouble with my only friend. She is papering the window panes." Sorry. These last examples aptly describe Theo and Julian's strained relationship, as well as their first meeting in 20 years being in a glass-enclosed building with newspapers covering every window pane. However, it also aptly describes the 3 friends overall, together with the film's overriding themes of alienation, paranoia, oppression, and dislocation. Children of Men garnered 3 2007 Oscar nominations for Best Adapted Screenplay, of which Cuaron was one of the main screenwriters. Best Editing, again director Cuaron was one of the 2 editors nominated alongside Alex Rodriguez, and longtime collaborator and fantastic Emmanuel Lubitsky was nominated for his intricate and exemplary achievement in cinematography. 10 years on, the film remains fresh on the screen, sharp and incredibly poignant when mirrored to today's oppressive treatment of immigrants and the vast divide in wealth between the have and the have-nots. Based on the best-selling source novel of the same name by P.D. James, Children of Men remains a firm favourite of mine, but with minor reservations. The film's first 2 acts are strong and narrative-driven, before the third act's struggle for survival, whilst affecting and well played, falls a little flat. The sporadic bursts of comedy also fall very flat, aside from Michael Caine sequences, and the AD segments of additional dialogue that segue between scenes are also flat and uninspiring. However, aside from these minor issues, the film remains a poignant inclusion within Alfonso Cuaron's burgeoning canon of cinematic greats. And that was Children of Men from 2006, directed by Alfonso Cuaron, brought to you by a Radiohead fan who loves singing Radiohead songs, even to the void of the Matrix. Hooray! Anyway, I'll leave you in peace and in solidarity, and I do sincerely thank you for watching, you hardy band of souls. Thanks so much. Peace, everyone.